All right, welcome back, everyone, for another deep dive.
Today, we're going to be looking at a really interesting statement.
Okay.
It's one that I think you've probably heard before, only you can help yourself.
Yeah.
It's something that we hear a lot, and it seems pretty straightforward.
But we thought it would be interesting to sort of dig into this a little bit.
And see, what's underneath the surface here.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think on the surface, it can sound very simple, almost like a cliche.
Right.
But when you really start to unpack it, there's a lot of depth and complexity to this idea.
Yeah, and it makes me think about, how much of our lives are we really in control of, and how much is just kind of happening to us.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it really gets to that question of personal responsibility.
Versus maybe some external forces that might be acting on us.
Yeah, so I might be the only one who can actually,
decide to go for a run. But, having a friend to go with.
Makes it a lot easier.
Or
I might be the only one who can, write this book.
But I need an editor.
Of course.
I need, people to help me with it.
I need all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I think that's a great example of how this idea can be a little bit paradoxical.
Right.
Because on the one hand, you're absolutely right. We do need support from other people.
But at the same time, there is this element of personal agency.
Okay.
That is essential for making any kind of progress.
So how do we find that balance?
Yeah.
Between those two things?
That's the real question. And one way to think about this is through the idea of locus of control.
Okay.
So this is a concept from psychology that essentially describes...
Where you believe the power to change your life resides.
Okay.
Do you feel like you have control over your own outcomes?
Or do you feel like things are mostly happening to you because of external forces?
I see.
So someone with a strong internal locus of control, they really believe that they have a significant influence
over their own life.
Whereas someone with a more external locus of control, they tend to feel like, fate or luck or other people are really the ones in the driver's seat.
So it sounds like believing in the idea that only you can help yourself
would be more that internal locus of control.
Exactly. And look, it's important to acknowledge that we're not
solely responsible for every single thing that happens in our lives, right?
Sure.
There are definitely external factors at play.
But I think cultivating that stronger internal locus of control can be incredibly empowering because it allows you to shift from feeling like a victim of circumstance
to recognizing that you actually have a lot of agency in shaping your reality.
Yeah, it makes me think about how often we wait for other people
to solve our problems or, make things happen for us.
But what if we just took ownership of those things ourselves?
That's exactly the point.
Instead of waiting for that promotion at work, what if you started taking on more responsibility?
Right.
What if you started developing new skills, right? Instead of waiting for your partner to make you happy.
What if you focused on cultivating your own sources of joy and fulfillment?
Those are great examples.
But at the same time, I think sometimes we really do need help from other people.
Right.
I mean, if I break my leg, I can't exactly set the bone myself.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So how do we know when it's really up to us to handle something?
Versus when we should reach out for help.
I think that's where discernment comes in.
Okay.
It's about really understanding your own capabilities.
And recognizing when you need expertise or support that you might not have.
The key is to be proactive
in seeking out those resources without giving up your agency in the process.
Right. So it's not about becoming like a lone wolf
who never asks for help, but more like, being a smart and resourceful leader of your own life.
Exactly. You said it perfectly.
It's about knowing when to ask for directions, but still being the one who's driving the car.
I like it.
So to recap, we've talked about personal power. We've talked about locus of control. We've talked about taking action.
We've talked about, finding that balance between self-reliance and seeking support.
That's a lot to think about.
It is, but I think it all comes back to that central idea.
You have this incredible power to shape your own life.
Okay.
You're not just a passenger, you are the driver.
And with that being said, I want to leave you with one final question to think about.
What's one step that you can take today?
No matter how small it is, to move towards a goal that really matters to you.
Maybe it's signing up for that online class you've been thinking about.
Maybe it's having a difficult conversation
that you've been putting off.
Remember, only you can take that first step.
And we'll see you next time for another deep dive.